I was 32 when I discovered my father's 10 VHS tapes in the attic of our old family home. They were gathered in a faded cardboard box, somewhere between the rusting bicycles and the dusty boxes of forgotten memorabilia. The box was unmarked, but I recognized the scrawled handwriting on the top as my father's. MTV Recordings 1990-1999. 10 tapes, one for each year. I felt a swell of nostalgia mixed with a prickle of unease as I carefully lifted out one of the tapes, its plastic casing slightly warped by time, like a relic from another era. The tapes were in decent condition despite the years of neglect, and the sharp scent of aging plastic wafted through the air as I removed them from their storage. The thought of reliving memories of my dad, a man who had spent countless hours with me watching MTV during the golden age of music videos, filled me with both excitement and a strange heaviness in my chest. Those family gatherings, waiting for the next big hit to play between nostalgic commercials full of life, laughter, and vivid memories, came rushing back. I could almost hear the notes of Smells Like Teen Spirit echoing from the television screen. I decided to take the tapes home, eager to dig into the good old days. With each new tape I inspected, I felt the joyful rush of nostalgia coursing through me. Music videos flickered through my mind like Quicksilver, TLC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears. I felt alive, having been transported back to a time when the world felt simpler, less complicated. I laughed as I fished out an old commercial, and the familiar faces of VJs danced across the screen, reminding me vividly of the carefree days of my childhood. Everything seemed perfect until I picked up the last tape labeled 1999. When I sat down to watch that last tape, I realized something was very wrong. The first few videos were thrilling and vintage, but the commercials began to fade into bizarre territory, predictions that lingered uncomfortably in the air. I brushed it off, reminding myself that perhaps they were just odd relics. Old MTV ads never really fit the modern narrative anyway. Yet, a gnawing instinct told me something deeper was churning beneath the surface of those recordings. As I delved deeper into the 10 tapes, key words like nostalgia, comfort, and familiarity hung heavy on my conscience. I was intent on reliving the joyous essence of my childhood until I realized a creeping sense of dread was manifesting in my heart. What was it about that last tape? Something that didn't sit right long after I had finished watching. Was it merely my imagination playing tricks on me, or was I brushing against something far more sinister? The memories with my dad continued to tie me to that decade, weaving in all the sweetness and humor into what was supposed to be an innocent journey. I recalled how music was the heartbeat to many of our conversations. From the buzz of that house speaker to singing off-key to the radio, my father was my compass through the landscape of sound shaping those years. It felt like I had been transported back to the 90s, a thriving cultural revolution. I kept watching, starting with the very first tape labeled 1990. The content was authentic. Music videos of iconic 90s bands, the kind of stuff that should be deeply ingrained in the hearts of many who witnessed the emergence of alternative rock and hip-hop culture. I savored each moment, relishing in the camaraderie those memories brought, the laughter shared, the music absorbed, the moments cherished. I almost thought I had escaped whatever strange feeling had come over me until I reached for the last tape. I pushed it into the player hesitantly, expecting the same drill of elaborate nostalgia. But everything seemed fine until I pressed play on that last tape from 1999. The opening music video seemed normal, almost mundane. It was a pop song I had heard countless times before, accompanied by flashy graphics that had defined my teenage years. But then came a banal commercial break, a moment I almost overlooked, a blip in the rhythm of the experience. I felt a chill as a familiar face appeared on screen, a news anchor predicting an event I had never fathomed. A smile crept to my lips until I realized he was discussing an upcoming situation in my life, the kind of moment only I knew about. The strange knot tied itself tighter in my stomach. What I had once thought to be merely an oddity had become a palpable anxiety. My first instinct was to dismiss it. It's just a coincidence, I told myself, but it felt wrong. I leaned back in disbelief, rewinding the tape to revisit each flashy ad, but the same strange commercial played out with the same predictions. I was seized with confusion. This had to be a fluke, maybe even a planned publicity stunt to create an engaging retrospective. Intent on dismissing the turmoil brewing within me, I forced myself to investigate. The label on the tape read 1999, yet here it was, captivating, referencing events I had yet to experience, paving the way for a future laid before me like a clock unwinding. Did I dare stockpile this under a whimsical happenstance? And was my father tangled in this uncanny net of inevitability, aware of every moment to come? I resolved to dig deeper, fueled by confusion and burgeoning curiosity about these tapes. I decided to map out the predictions emerging from other commercials. I could almost feel the synapses firing in my head, hyping up an excitement bordering on panic. I took notes feverishly, documenting everything bizarrely coherent. If there was any meat to this notion that my reckless imagination merely conjured, I was determined to uncover the truth. If you want to hear more stories about lost memories and eerie discoveries like this, subscribe to the channel. What I found in these tapes changed everything I thought I knew about time. The next few days turned into an investigation, a dizzying spiral, encompassing the authenticity of the predictions that appeared grainy on the tape. I reviewed the first few tapes. My beloved moments with my father were fading in transparency when compared to the unraveling truth foretold on the last tape. I immersed myself in the shimmering world of vivid memories that played out as if frozen in time, juxtaposed against a backdrop of uncertainty. Every tape was a triumph, filled with nostalgia, until I reached the endpoint, the commercially constructed timeline of 1999 that eerily narrated my personal life. Moments yet to be lived, unfolding as I nestled back into the couch. As I skimmed through the box once more, I grew more unsettled. I'd long ceased to trust the tapes, only to admit their predictive properties were undeniable. I thought maybe it was just a fluke, I whispered to myself, but the truth loomed over me heavy, as I pieced together an intricate web leading to the inexplicable. I stopped briefly to collect my thoughts. The sense of shared awe and friendship faded into an awareness that was clinically isolating. With each new commercial taking root, I was jolted by a growing awe that twisted into fear. They were deeper reflections of my life. From family gatherings to breakups, the final memories I shared with my father began to haunt me like an ominous echo on repeat. As I flicked through, my note-taking became feverish. There must be something connecting these predictive messages, meticulously lined out by the clock like a maze. I pored over emails and notes from family friends, desperate for anyone who could validate what I thought I had discovered. But nothing prepared me for what happened after the last commercial. The timeline I prided myself on understanding appeared to blur before my very eyes, intercepting events ideally meant to bring camaraderie, yet tossing me further into isolation. "This can't be happening," came the faint whisper in my mind. I felt as if I had breached a thread of reality that shouldn't exist. The anomaly of uncanny commercials became mere pieces of a greater puzzle unraveling my sanity. With each moment I spent watching, as anticipation turned fear into a deluge of doubt. I documented everything I could, the bizarre little twists echoing outward impact, the doomed blooming of unsought knowledge rippling through time. It wasn't long before I discovered a pattern of predictions within the oddities, a tangled web connecting earlier tapes to decisions I had become part of, along with the absolute weight of inevitability that somehow bound them. Here sat proof of uncanny foresight pinned against the wall, and I felt hysteria rise within me as my journal sprawled with more correlations and unexplainable coincidences. Things I had always believed would occur were already living with me, recorded decades before their fruition. Dropped hints, past occurrences flashing like sirens, paralleled wonders that gripped my present day. Only I saw them clearly. If this was only about me, then how deep did my father's knowledge of this valley run? Comment below if you've experienced something unreality-defying from a family heirloom. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Then came the core revelation. A commercial replayed scenes previously sealed in the atmosphere of silence. The volumetric detail awaited me at the edge of my own sanity. A news clip predicting a life-changing event appeared, and each word slipped like stones down a bottomless well. My hands trembled and my heart raced wildly. I watched my own face flash across the screen, the very truth I feared slinking into my realities reflected like an alternate timeline unraveling before me. They were not just chaotic tributes to a former decade. They were pathways to predicaments looming in shadows. The moment branded itself into me as I realized the television had abandoned its frame of reference. I was scrutinized under what appeared to be momentary whims of divine intervention, but without means of escape. I reached for my phone, heart thundering dangerously. Screenshots became my tether to certify the horror unfolding, shunning away the neat illusion I had held dear. This cannot be authentic. The backtracking I had laid didn't feel wieldy enough. I had to share with a close friend the pieces weighing upon my reality. Every twisted event had its roots tied to the media, acknowledging family and realized torment in the memories captured within those simple tapes. Emotional fallout swept through sensitivity, bewilderment layered heavily as the reality I knew seemed to distort before my eyes. The commercials mocked me, taunted me with fate. Indeed, my life was becoming spiralized as the four corners of certainty began to flake away. I had made tangible connections, my father recognizing the delicate web we all resided in, and my own dictated choices pulling excess tension into every aspect of my life. What once seemed mundane had spiraled around my existence as if greeting me with clawed hands, curating every choice trailing behind like an unreadable DNA. You will never guess, of course, what I found out after tracking the increasingly straining veins of predictions seeping into my days. Past recordings became satellites mapping out points disaffecting my comfort. I saw the threads and why distinct elements of our family legacy seemed to mirror shocks of realities floating unbendingly around me. I had begun counting down over each week, swathing me in paranoia and wonder, piecing their tempo with my reality's pulse. I pressed on, pressing skin to my notes and scribbled threads beginning to unravel glimpses of the future. And what a future it was! How deep did my father's awareness run? I have recorded 50 cases of temporal paradoxes on vintage media, from videos that predict future events to recordings made over years before their origin. My complete analysis is available in my ebook linked below. With inflammation of nerves, I attempted confronting the growing fraudulent narrative sprawled precariously across time, attacking each moment, determined to dismantle this unseen pattern dictating my life. Yet amid the chaos, strange clarity buzzed at the seams. Amidst the evolved connections interspersed within reality itself, I pressed forward into the anomalies. There was no turning back. I took actions based on foreknowledge. Each reckless endeavor screamed louder. They prepared a sudden storm of implications, a multitude of messages whirling like blinding light, acknowledging an unseen manipulation at play behind familiar faces. I might even dare say, casts of my father towered even darker than I had anticipated. That was the turning point, the point where I broke down emotionally. The horror swelled with wounds of confusion hefting my persona. How much of this reality unfolded without my consent? The regret that moved deep within communicated itself layer by layer, leading me to understand the cyclical nature of whatever this threads of moments entailed. Eventually, confronting the eerie reward of inevitability pulled me inward like sinking sand. A distorted vision appeared through manipulated pressures that hunted the choices thrust forth unwittingly. The momentum carried me until I nearly broke, snagged in the middle with strife beyond acknowledgement. Each twist I cut led me farther down into depths unknown, but fear would not be my conclusion. If these revelations have transformed how you view reality and time, show your appreciation with the thanks button. Every contribution continues this investigation into time, shifting our understanding of fate. The layers of impossibilities began to collapse under fraying tension. Each time a choice confronted me, it was less a battle with time, but rather a confrontation with self, one that shattered reflections that I had believed formed notions of certain existence. I stood at the precipice of confrontation and knew the truth lay before me, that knowledge was fleeting and inescapable, a ghost gnawing away at the fabric framing my father's wisdom. The footage spilled forth. Hidden moments unveiled, connections that left me oscillating within layers of emotional turmoil. Peering deeper, my father's intentions brimmed with secrets, their offerings buried beneath darkness. The chains of reality began collapsing, tying existence back into my lineage, a pulse that was neither time nor space, but something woven across dimensions, exerting its will over living moments. I still have the tapes. Every now and then, I find new instances appearing. What happened to my past? The clutter of experiences linking to those eerie commercials. As my thoughts returned, the flickering recognition of choice accompanied the weight of what had been left unresolved. Is freedom merely an illusion? Have existential liberties born through horror left unpredictability haunting my choices? Those tapes remain wounds of enigma, channels I don't dare explore or expose. Because while echoes of moments vanish, something looms layered beneath that laughter, reminders that my narrative is yet unwritten. In the darkness, the fabric of reality shifts silently, revealing just as much as it conceals. I sit in the afterglow of the light, casting the resolution of what should have been a simple box of tapes, only to discover a relentless truth rushing forth among spectral whispers, a secret forever haunting those courageous enough to reminisce. The comprehensive analysis of temporal anomalies, including scientific theories and documented cases, is included in my ebook. If you need to understand this deeper, you'll find a link down below. I spent days poring over the tapes, wrestling with the truths I had unearthed. Every evening transformed into a ritual in the dimly lit room, where I reveled in the strange allure of the memories captured within those VHS recordings. I was absorbed, drawn deeper into the vortex of nostalgia and creeping dread. The more I tried to dismiss the peculiarities of the tapes, the more they became pronounced, echoing a relentless call that I couldn't ignore. My makeshift office became a shrine to childhood, filled with tapes stacked beside boxes of old photographs and forgotten mementos. Each tape contained a tapestry of memories, projections of my future intertwined with the past. The rhythmic clicks of the VCR were both comforting and haunting, each press of the play button feeling like a descent into a familiar yet uncharted territory. Despite the intoxicating nostalgia, fear lingered at the edges, begging to be acknowledged. Late into the night, I would replay certain segments, losing myself in the world of 90s pop culture that filled every frame. Yet with each round, there was always an annoying sense of wrongness, waking me from my reverie as the commercials played, making predictions that mapped my life with unsettling specificity. What I once felt was safe began to turn insidious. The moment I reached for the last tape again was when dread firmly set in. I had witnessed bizarre commercials hinting at future events and senselessly intertwined with my current life. I replayed the last tape, knowing I was about to confront something beyond mere memory, plunging into darkness. The anchor's face flashed again, a harbinger of what was yet to come. Each time, a reminder of how much I had underestimated what these tapes held. I watched my own face reflected in the images. The grasp of my reality began to slip. Panic rushed in waves as I scrambled for my phone, my heart racing dangerously. Could I possibly share this madness with a friend who'd listened to my nonsensical ramblings paraded as casual storytelling? The weight of the secrets buried within those tapes settled heavily upon me. How many lives had passed through their grasp, unknowing of the threads of time they contained? I felt that I was unearthing my father's hidden knowledge, a legacy tinted with ambiguity and darker shades of knowing. My thoughts spiraled further into uncertainty. Comment below if you've experienced something unreality-defying from a family heirloom. I need to know I'm not alone in this, became a desperate plea echoing through my mind. I faced the core revelation, the sequence of chaos that had brought me here now, from innocent childhood memories to a twisted reality bound within predicted moments. It was not just a series of videos. They were silent witnesses to my life's trajectory. I had to confront this tangled web before it consumed me completely, forcing myself to plunge deeper into the revelations lying dormant, changing the very nature of my existence. What awaited me next went beyond the surreality I had already recognized. It beckoned more insistently. Each revelation clawed at my consciousness, urging me toward an uncertain fate, a reckoning with forces once hidden, now exposed. In all these layered moments, I found direction. As I pour my heart into understanding, I couldn't afford to accept that my unraveling reality was but a reflection of misaligned perceptions. If understanding this anomaly meant altering my fate, it was a risk I had to take, and before I knew it, I was spiraling into a deeper inquiry, confronting the echoes of the past and the weight of predestined choices inevitable to come. As the days bled into nights, I became consumed by the tapes. Each session at the VCR morphed into an obsessive ritual. My makeshift office, once a simple area of nostalgia, now radiated an air of urgency and unease. The 90s pop culture relics juxtaposed with my frantic notes created a palpable tension, weighty with the echoes of forgotten histories intertwined with contemporary truths I now faced. Every time I pressed play, I felt I was both reliving my past and diving deeper into a harrowing present, an unmarked path leading towards something disquieting that shimmered just out of reach. In my mind, I traversed the years of my life, threading memory and emotion into a dense tapestry of shared moments with my father. Memories of us huddled on the old couch, eyes glued to MTV. The laughter and depth of those gatherings layered with music as the backdrop. The moments had fed my youth, the familiarity reminding me how much I often took for granted. And yet, now, each tape offered not just nostalgia, but eerie predictions about my future that haunted the edges of each image. The last tape bore the heaviest weight. Each time I revisited it, I braced myself against the torrent of revelations that surged forth. Commercials that seemed to represent not just the absurdity of marketing, but veering threads of my own reality. They began to reveal themselves in ways that felt meticulously calculated, reflecting potential outcomes as though my life were scripted. No commercial was quite as unsettling as the one that had announced my name, embedding itself like a thorn deep within the fabric of reality. I could not shake the feeling that the predictions weren't mere coincidences, but messages from a larger, unyielding narrative. A shadow cast by my father's knowledge laid bare. The numbers jotted down in my notebook morphed into connections, tying each commercial to moments in my life, leaving me grappling with implications far larger than I had prepared myself for. Each revelation felt like another piece of my life being etched from some cosmic blueprint, a living, breathing timeline that cycled through my existence. I began to understand that my father's legacy was deeply entwined with temporal anomalies, echoing family dynamics I could barely comprehend. Remembering all of this, I resolved to share my discoveries with anyone who would listen. I needed validation, a sense of community in this bizarre unfolding. If you want to hear more stories about lost memories and eerie discoveries like this, subscribe to the channel, I urged myself, rehearsing in my mind. What I found in these tapes changed everything I thought I knew about time. I took a moment to breathe, shaking off the doubts threatening to suffocate me. It was time to dig deeper into the roots of my inquiries. The expectation of facing something unfathomable spurred an urgency within me. The question of whether this knowledge was a blessing or a curse pressed ever heavier upon my shoulders. It felt almost sacrilegious to unearth these truths, yet I knew I had to confront what lay beneath the surface. As the clock ticked away, I endeavored to reach out again to that old friend, eager for insight, desperate to peel away the veneer of reality I had reveled in. "There's something deeply bizarre about these tapes," I told him on the phone, trying to explain without simply sounding delusional. "They're predicting my life events. It sounds insane, but I have notes, correlations I've been documenting. Can we meet?" The anticipation of sharing my findings allowed embers of hope to flicker in the nothingness. Beyond my solitude, I felt echoes of possibility weaving into the fabric of my discoveries. Perhaps together we could shine a light on complexities forged in my father's legacy, the data set of life intertwined with the flow of time. An excitement edged with trepidation coursed through me as I prepared to face whatever truths awaited, uncertain if they would bring clarity or further dissolve my perception of reality. As I prepared to meet my friend, the weight of those 10 tapes remained a constant metaphorical presence, like sentinels awaiting judgment over the secrets they held. How tethered were they to my father's knowledge? As I questioned that reality, I steeled myself against the tumultuous fear coiling deep within. This was just the beginning, and I realized I had embraced more than mere memories. I faced the chaotic, woven tapestry of time itself. When we reconvened at the diner, I could see the apprehension in Caleb's eyes as he settled into the booth across from me. The greeting exchanges felt like perfunctory rituals, drowned out by the weight of unspoken revelations hovering between us. Every moment intensified my anxiety, like the steady drip of water in a silent cave, echoing out towards the unknown depths beneath us. "Thanks for giving those tapes a shot," I said, struggling to gauge his expression. "Did any of it make sense?" He leaned back, eyebrows knitted together in thought. "It's hard to say, really. The commercials display a timeline that almost feels custom written for you. I can't dismiss it outright, but..." His voice trailed off as if weighing the consequences of every word. "But what?" "Fine," he replied, half exasperated. "Let's speak plainly. This is all eerily bizarre. I can't quite shake the feeling that it's a product of your mind, something you've trained yourself to see in those tapes." I felt a bolt of frustration spark within me. "But that's just it. They're anachronistic moments, Caleb. You have to understand. You've seen the tape. My name popped up with a prediction of something I didn't even know until years later." "Look," he said, leaning in with renewed energy. "If you want me to believe this is some kind of temporal mystery, I'm on board. But we can't ignore the possibilities of selective memory and subconscious projection. We need to think critically here." I glanced around the diner, feeling the sharp isolation of our conversation cut through the ambient clatter of forks and voices. What if he was right? What if everything I believed was about to unravel? Then again, could I simply ignore the tape's predictions? The weight of my father's legacy bore heavily on my conscience. It felt as though I had become a mere pawn, unwittingly reshaping history with every step. "What if there's more?" I pressed, leaning forward. "These tapes aren't just recordings. They're entangled with my existence at a fundamental level. I'm convinced that within these bizarre commercial callbacks lies a thread that connects my past and future in ways we can't fully grasp yet." Caleb's expression softened slightly, no longer clouded by skepticism. "Okay, I'm listening. What do you think we should do next?" "I need to pull apart the strands of relationships, memories, even the commercials that feel so personal. This might lead us to some kind of clarity." I took a deep breath, channeling my energy into composure. I want to explore the bigger picture, where these threads originated and how they continue to ripple into my present. If I'm in, we need to lay everything out. Let's pull these connections apart carefully. There has to be a repeating structure we can find. He tapped his fingers against the table, allowing ideas to flow between us, the flickers of excitement illuminating the tension. With a passionate resolve bubbling inside me, I nodded in agreement. Yes, connecting the dots in a visible manner could expose the underlying narrative we're navigating. As we formulated our plan, I realized how odd it was to have someone else intimately involved in the exploration of my father's legacy. The intricate web of memory and temporal anomalies demanded more than solitary investigation. Feeling united in purpose shifted the atmosphere of dread that had wrapped around me for so long. "All right, let's dig into this," Caleb said, glancing at his watch. "I can't promise to come around to your conclusions, but we can work together. I'm here for the ride." "Together then," I echoed, my heart racing with a sense of familiarity mixed with newfound courage. In that moment, I felt a powerful connection, as if I were tethered at last to something beyond my solitary experience. Hit that like button in spirit for a new adventure ahead. We're on the brink of uncovering cosmic truths, and I'll need all the encouragement I can get. Caleb chuckled, but I noticed he had taken on an air of commitment in his demeanor. Perhaps this entangled journey's path wouldn't be as daunting with a companion by my side. With my father's tapes illuminated in a new context, the fears began to melt into eager curiosity. The search for truth became a shared journey, a canvas upon which our developing understanding and nascent fears could coexist. We would peel back the layers and face whatever lingered just beyond the veil. Each step forward held the promise of revelation. As I looked across at Caleb, hope intermingled with the shadows of uncertainty, and I understood I was no longer just a witness to the unfolding chaos. I was an active participant in the phenomena that bound our existence. I could feel the clock almost ticking along with the momentum coursing through me, urging me deeper into realms unknown. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow through the diner's cracked windows, we began to sketch out a plan. I could feel the energy shifting between Caleb and me, a sense of purpose igniting my racing thoughts. It was surreal, diving into the depths of my father's old tapes with newfound resolve. I felt as if I were finally unraveling a puzzle that had haunted me for far too long. "What's the first thing we should do?" Caleb asked, his fingers dancing over the table like a conductor leading an orchestra. "We need to categorize the tapes," I replied, gesturing toward the pile beside me. "There's a pattern to them. I can feel it." "If we can sort them by date and context, something will emerge, stories connecting my life to the predictions that seem to fall into place like clockwork." Caleb nodded, a grin spreading across his face. "Let's do that. I'm all in. Analyzing them side by side can reveal what we previously overlooked." It felt invigorating to talk about the tapes as though they were living entities rather than dusty relics. I felt my heart swell with optimism for the journey ahead. As we moved into action, the diner's warm lights flickered above us, a soothing contrast to the chaos that threatened to spill out from my mind. We set to work, and I felt the weight of the world slowly lift. Each tape held familiar events, but also hinted at uncharted territories of my existence, threading through time like arrows entering a target. As we unspooled the first cassette, the haunting echoes of 90s television filled the air, and I couldn't help but momentarily get lost in its nostalgia, a bittersweet reminder of childhood comfort underscored by the shadow of troubling prophecies. Caleb took meticulous notes as we reviewed each segment, pausing on commercials that stood out with alarming precision, digging deeper into their meanings and implications. Each ad seemed helplessly rooted in some cosmic manuscript. Names and dates spun into a web of breadcrumbs that could lead back to my father, perhaps even revealing the man I had barely understood. Look at this one, I said, pointing to a particularly bizarre ad that had given me nightmares after the first viewing. In it, a fantastical scenario unfolded where everything seemed uniquely crafted to beckon certain choices I had made in my life. This commercial aired in 1998. It emphasizes decisions that lead to unexpected consequences. It's unnervingly vivid. Remember what I said about that Starbucks ad? Caleb reshuffled through the pages of my notes, soon landing on what I had initiated as a timeline. Oh God, your first cup of coffee there was that same year. Wasn't it you who said it was a life-altering change? His voice trembled slightly, the realization washing over us. Exactly. It's almost like these tapes anticipated my life path. I felt a jolt of goosebumps rise on my arms as the energy in the air thickened with profound possibilities. It's bewildering, but there's a reason behind the madness that we need to tap into. Caleb's brows knitted together. But what about the ads that didn't apply? He mused. There must be a filter in play, something that chooses what manifests and what disappears. Remember that. What do you think those discarded messages mean? I hesitated, my mind churning with apprehension. It could easily suggest that my father was choosing which narratives to leave intact, like intentional omissions meant to guide my choices. But if that's true, why did he leave these fragments behind? Caleb sat back thoughtfully. That suggests something deeper at play. What if every prediction wasn't just guidance, but warnings about a cycle repeating, patterns he felt we needed to confront to break free? His eyes sparkled, the idea spilling forth as though he were discovering something grand. What do you think? Drop a comment below if you've ever felt an object from your family that seemed packed with hidden truths. We can't be alone in this, I encouraged, eager to explore our insecurities through the lens of a supportive community. The diner buzzed softly around us, yet I felt ensnared in a realm attached to the tapes. There had to be more to unravel. Sifting through the memories, my father's hidden transmissions, may allow me to rewrite narratives long shackled by a device forged in complexity I couldn't yet comprehend. We moved on to the next tape in the stack, intently focusing on a commercial featuring a products showcase. This aired the same summer I began my first job. This was the very season I was introduced to something that spiraled into uncharted growth, I said, eyes wide with realization. Caleb scratched notes, piecing together data from our finds, weaving connections that were growing increasingly tangible. There's a clear directional flow. Your choices seem influenced by memories, but are they shaping the future? Or are you simply responding to echoes of the past? I could feel the tension coiling within me, the boundaries of my understanding bending. What if I was piggybacking on previously determined coordinates, actions that had already been set in stone before I even realized their implications? As the diner dimmed into twilight, the gravity of the situation settled heavily on my shoulders. Each revelation we unearthed tethered me deeper towards my father's essence, a glimpse into his mindset, as though decoding whispers left behind among his cherished tapes. With unbroken resolve, I ventured forth, ready to comb through every frame, direction, and destiny mapped out before me. The labyrinth I had walked for so long began revealing facets I hadn't anticipated, luring me closer to truths buried beneath the layers of time. And as we meticulously dissected each segment, the horror blossoming within their confines felt less like a curse and more like a haunting guide, urging me to confront the very heart of what it meant to weave my own narrative into its intricate fabric. As the hours slipped by unnoticed, the diner transformed into a haven for our exploration. The once noisy atmosphere dulled to a quiet background hum, encapsulating our little world of discovery. Caleb and I fell into a rhythm, bouncing ideas off each other as we continued through the labyrinthine depths of my father's recorded past. Each tape revealed layers of nuance that demanded our attention, echoing with remnants of memories intertwined with the perplexing projections of the future. The next tape presented a bizarre infomercial that had me captivated. Flashes of vibrant graphics danced across the screen, showcasing a product that promised to turn life's mundane choices into profound journeys. As I watched, I felt a chill trickle down my spine. It seemed to echo lessons I had learned over the years, moments that had altered my trajectory forever. "Look at the way they talk about choice," I said, pointing at the TV. "This isn't just a commercial, it's a manifesto. Each product promises some kind of enlightenment. What if these moments reflect the decisions I'd been grappling with?" Caleb leaned in, eyes wide with insight. "This could be the crux of it. Your choices were always mirrored back to you, shaping your perception of what you believe is real. The infomercials aren't just marketing, they are conditioning. They set the stage for your path." I nodded, feeling buoyed by the way we were weaving together disparate threads, stitching a pattern I was only beginning to understand. And if we look at this as a playbook, a manual of sorts, it might hold the key to the wisdom my father left behind. Maybe he wanted us to learn something. As we immersed ourselves deeper into the analysis, I couldn't shake the apprehension bubbling under the surface. Questions pelted my mind like hailstones, each one puncturing the fabric of my established reality. Had I been caught in a web of carefully laid traps orchestrated by my father? Was this unfolding chaos a means to illuminate paths not only for myself, but those connected to me? "That's unsettling," Caleb murmured, mirroring my own thoughts. If he left these tapes for a reason, did he want us to break free from the cycles, or are we meant to embrace them? Maybe both? I ventured, my heart racing. They could serve as warnings and lessons. We are all woven into this cosmic tapestry, and it's not just about the past. It's the infinite ways we interact with time. Just then, another commercial played that was filled with friends and laughter over dinner, one that reminded me of family gatherings long past. A pang of nostalgia rushed through me, tainted by the knowledge of what I was uncovering. I felt an unsteady mixture of love and dread, recognizing how deeply intertwined those moments were with the eerie predictions hidden within the ads. "This is what he wanted," I said aloud without truly believing it. "Connections, decisions. We build our own constructs while navigating the paths laid out before us. And as much as I feel trapped in this cycle, maybe it's a chance to forge a new one." Caleb nodded grimly, taking it all in. "What if this is about seeking not just clarity, but redefining everything? We can't allow these tapes to dictate our course. It's time we reclaim that narrative, reshape it, and redefine what's to come." The resolve in his voice kindled a spark of courage within me. I pressed my finger against the emotional weight we were carrying. This wasn't solely a daunting task as much as it was a shared bridge toward liberation. As we stepped beyond the commercials showcasing ordinary life to the eerier segments that left us breathless, we faced deeper questions. One such segment displayed an uncanny mirror of how I had perceived life's trivialities, amplifying events I considered inconsequential. Each interaction suddenly held gravitas, tightening the threads of fate I had yet to comprehend. "Before we continue," I said, my heart hammering as the enormity of it struck me, "if this journey offers even a glimpse of understanding, let's take a moment for those who support our venture. If you found value in this exploration, hit that thanks button down below. Your support means everything as we navigate through the uncanny twists of memory and prophecy together." Caleb grinned. "Here's to the uncharted territories ahead. We'll face this head on," he said, his voice an echo of my thoughts, signaling our resolve to peel away the protective layers that hid the truths lying dormant within those tapes. Together we plunged back in, our mission stark and vivid against the backdrop of what we unearthed. The fabric of our understanding twisted among the revelations carved out of the unknown. With each tape we diligently examined, the boundary between past and future felt thin, as if time itself was a mere facade, ready to fold against the weight of truths yet revealed. The atmosphere felt electric as we ventured forth, chasing whispers of memory that pulsated through the depths of my father's legacy. Every second spent within the confines of those tapes transformed them from simple recordings to potent vessels filled with knowledge and nostalgia, carrying us through pathways aimed directly towards a future screaming to be rewritten. Together, we embraced the adventure, knowing each moment could hold the key to understanding, to explore the nuances hidden within an unrelenting web of time. As we delved deeper into the layers of my father's tapes, I could feel a profound shift within myself. The diner around us faded into the background as we transitioned from passive observers to active participants in the mysterious narratives of our lives. The hours ticked by, and what began as a simple investigation transformed into something reminiscent of uncovering buried treasure, a treasure rich with family connections and the wisdom of past experiences intertwined with the perplexing forecasts of future paths. We shifted our focus back to the tape. The next segment opened with a wide-angle lens on a family gathering, an idyllic scene bathed in golden light, laughter echoing through halls that felt almost ghostly in their familiarity. I recognized the faces of my family members, but as we watched, anxiety crept in, intertwining with nostalgia. Each smile, every shared moment felt like a precious thread, yet pulsed strangely with foreboding. "Look at this," I pointed, my voice betraying the tightness in my throat. "This dinner party, I remember it vividly. I was so happy then." Tears brimming in my eyes, I felt a peculiar dissonance, a merging of joy with the sharp edges of regret. Caleb nodded, his expression thoughtful. "There's something hypnotic about these moments. They pull you in, don't they? But they also carry an unsettling undertone. It feels as if they're laden with lessons." "Yes, exactly," I exclaimed, excited by Caleb's insight. "These gatherings remind me of the paths not taken, those choices that course through my life, shaping who I am today. Maybe my father recorded these to guide or warn us about that very thing." With a newfound determination, we paused the footage. "I wonder what this could mean for us now," I mused aloud. "If we reframe our understanding of these recordings, we can redefine our future." These tapes hold keys. What if we approach them as not just reflections of what was, but as precursors to what could be? Caleb leaned forward, fully engaged. "That's powerful. It's like rewriting the script of our lives. But it's crucial we don't approach this passively. We need to actively engage and challenge the narratives." "Right." I felt a pulse of excitement infuse my words. "And in opening up this conversation, we invite a community in. We aren't just unearthing our stories, we can make space for many more. If we can collectively reclaim these narratives, connect over shared experiences, that's a strong force for change." His eyes lit up as a plan began to crystallize between us. "What if we ask others to join in our exploration? They could share their family tapes, their narratives, a true collaborative effort." A spark vivid as lightning danced between us. "We could create a movement, a shared platform for exploring legacies," I suggested, feeling breathless with possibility. "This is bigger than just us. It could empower others to confront their histories and redefine their paths. We should invite people to become channel members." Turning toward the camera, I felt my heart race with a mix of urgency and excitement. If you resonate with our journey, I encourage you to join the channel membership today. Let's come together as we unravel and redefine our stories. We are all on this journey of discovery. Together, we can unlock a future filled with understanding and choice. Caleb leaned back, smiling approvingly. This could enrich the entire conversation, elevate our findings, and create a community embarking on a meaningful exploration of their pasts and futures. As we turned back to the screen, I felt surges of momentum, driving us forward into uncharted territories. The past was alive before us, shifting and reshaping itself. Each frame heralded not just memories, but revelations waiting to take form. A tapestry woven with both the familiar and the mysterious. Finally, we resumed our investigation into the next segment, uncertain yet emboldened by our mission. The potential for transformation loomed large before us, a vivid reminder that each choice made, every narrative embraced, could guide us not just toward understanding the legacies we inherited, but also toward shaping the destinies we yearned to forge. As frames flickered past, I held on to my vision of a network that transcended the limitations of familial context, encapsulating the very essence of what it means to be human. Together with Caleb, we were no longer merely examining the tapes. We were engaging with our past to sculpt a brighter future, rich with possibilities beyond the shadows of what once was. The weight of our mission enveloped me, a promise of liberation, exploration, and a quest that could echo through time and find root in hearts echoing ours. As Caleb and I delved further into my father's collection of tapes, the atmosphere shifted palpably, thick with the gravity of our exploration. The screen flickered to life with a different kind of energy, showcasing a jarring mix of fervent debates and philosophical ruminations. I could feel the tension in my throat as the familiar voices echoed in the diner. This segment was a recording of a local talk show featuring discussions that spiraled into existential quandaries, questions about fate, free will, and the structures that govern our lives. "Look at this," I said, gesturing to the screen. "They're dissecting what it means to have agency. Were all of our decisions preordained, or do we craft our own destinies?" Caleb leaned closer, intrigued. "These discussions, it's as if your father understood the very core of human existence, how we grapple with our choices in the shadows of our familial legacies. Do you think he recorded these to challenge us?" My heart raced as I nodded. "Absolutely. Each heated discussion resonates with everything we've unearthed so far. What if he thought we needed this guidance to confront our own narratives? It makes me wonder what kind of insights he hoped to pass down." Together, we paused the footage, struck by how the voices of the past intertwined with our current discussions, layers of meaning lapping at the edges of our understanding. "If he meant for us to challenge these concepts one day, it's disconcerting," I murmured. "Finding agency among the ruins of memories." "And trapped cycles," Caleb interjected, his voice offering an anchor. "But what if this is the key? What if by interrogating these narratives, we're uncovering tools meant for agency? We can rewrite our scripts." "Definitely. This exploration is not just personal, it's collective," I affirmed, exhilarated by the potential unfolding before us. If we can share these insights, we could help others who might feel bound by their own cycles. Taking a deep breath, I continued. Imagine if we initiated a project where our investigative journey wasn't confined to us alone, but expanded far beyond. We could compile these revelations, these lessons, into something larger, a community resource. Caleb's eyes widened. A resource? That sounds ambitious, but incredibly impactful. You're saying we could gather narratives, insights, and assemble them into an ebook? Yes, we could explore the stories we've uncovered together, offering perspectives not only from our own journeys, but also contributions from others as they navigate their unique tapes of life. It could serve as a guide, a beacon of understanding woven with the wisdom of many generations. "Now that's brilliant," Caleb said, his excitement radiating through his voice. "This could reach far beyond our diner sessions. The collective experience of grappling with legacy, agency, and cycles could help countless people see their own patterns." I leaned back, envisioning it vividly. We could call it something like Fragments of Time, reconstructing the narrative. It could blend personal reflections with analytical insights, offering readers the tools to recognize, confront, and reshape their own destinies. And once we're ready to publish, we can direct people to it through our channel. This community-initiated support would bridge gaps and foster connection. It could spark real discussions. Gazing intently at the screen, I felt encroaching determination churn within me. If we can empower people to explore their familial tapes, whatever form they take, it might release them from detrimental cycles. This dialogue is critical, especially with the profound experiences we've shared through these tapes. Let's start outlining the key insights we've gleaned, Caleb suggested, already scribbling notes. From the philosophical discussions to the practical strategies we've identified, everything could reveal patterns and offer hope. Exactly, I said, seizing the momentum. We can bring others into this project too. The more perspectives we incorporate, the richer the narrative we'll weave together. Everyone deserves to feel seen and heard in their experiences with the past. Mind buzzing with the implications of our newfound mission, I felt the urgency of further exploration mixing with excitement. If you're eager for this journey too, I encourage you to grab the ebook once we publish. It'll be filled with the insights we've uncovered, enabling everyone to access tools for understanding their legacies and breaking the cycles holding them back. As the screen cycled through more revelations, the atmosphere around us thrummed with anticipation. The vibrant lives captured in two-dimensional frames bore witness to the truth. We were not merely heirs to our histories, but architects of our narratives. The power to redefine our futures lay firmly within our grasp, waiting to be reclaimed through exploration and community. Caleb and I plunged back into my father's legacy with renewed enthusiasm, each segment illuminating lessons that would shape not only our lives, but the lives of countless others seeking connection, understanding, and agency. The threads we wove would not only bind us to our past, but also spark pathways to creating a future rich with meaning, driven by courage in the face of uncertainty. The weight of the stories and potential intertwined, pushing us forward into the tapestry that beckoned to be unraveled, revealing the glimmers of hope within unraveling darkness. The din of the diner faded into an almost surreal backdrop as Caleb and I leaned into the next segment of my father's tapes. The images on the screen swirled into a frenetic chaos, animated by voices clamoring with urgency. Debates about history interspersed with the human experience, riddled with the paradoxes of nostalgia and grief. It was a montage of family archival footage and interviews, revealing layers of complexity hidden beneath the surface of cherished memories. "Wow, look at that!" I exclaimed, pointing at a scene depicting my father as a younger man, lively and animated, surrounded by his friends during long summer afternoons. This was a moment frozen in time, so many stories wrapped in these little snippets. Each piece pulses with untold layers. Caleb leaned closer, scrutinizing the faces and gestures. It's mesmerizing, but also haunting, considering what we've learned about how these moments can be tied to cyclical behaviors. Seeing your father like this makes me wonder if he felt the weight of the legacies he inherited too. Voices from the text echoed, intertwining with the echoes of our own thoughts. I felt the heaviness of realization pressing against my chest. What if my father recorded these memories not just to celebrate them, but to point out patterns he noticed, to remind us of both joy and fragility? It's entirely possible, Caleb said thoughtfully. These snippets could act as warnings or affirmations, reminding you of what's at stake if the cycles go unexamined. The thoughts spun rapidly in my mind until I felt slightly dizzy. We need to dissect this. Every piece connects back to our broader theme of legacy. We can't ignore the joy, but we can't overlook the caution he may have wanted to impart either. As the recording continued, we watched the warmth of camaraderie glimmer alongside traces of tension, deeper familial dynamics lacing the stories together. Given the extraordinary narratives my father had stitched from the fabric of our lives, a dark undercurrent tugged at my heart. I had to confront the reality that every interaction targeted a delicate balance between light and shadow. "Look, this is it," I pointed as the footage captured a heated discussion during another reunion. People were seated around a table, their faces lit with passion, engaged in spirited dialogue about choices that shaped their shared history. It felt uncomfortably familiar, creating a ripple of recognition that settled deep within my mind. Exile or embrace? A voice on the recording shouted, echoing through the diner and making the hair on my arm stand on end. That's the question, isn't it? Caleb furrowed his brow in contemplation. That notion is applicable to us as well. It stretches beyond just our families to the communities we've built. There's a lesson here about facing the past without fear, embracing what it means to confront the cycles that bind us. A meaningful silence enveloped our moment of realization, thickening the air like a palpable fog. We can turn this insight into something actionable, I said, emboldened. If it exposes the complexities of human connection, it could help guide others toward breaking their cycles as well. Caleb chimed in. Exactly. It's like a manual, a series of templates we can contribute to together. These recordings, filled with both beauty and struggle, could resonate beyond our individual experiences, propelling others toward recognizing their own histories. We are vastly connected, I added, the ideas intensifying in potency. Let's encourage others to reflect upon their own pasts. If people resonate with our journey, they can be brave enough to confront areas needing healing. We could inspire real action. As I contemplated the implications of our shared project, I felt compelled to engage the viewers more directly. If this exploration is striking a nerve with you and you see the value in unveiling your own narrative, hit that thanks button below. Your support means so much while we work through these labyrinthine tales, helping us dive deeper into the intersections of memory and prophecy. Caleb's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Every contribution counts and helps foster this community as we peel back the layers of our experiences together. The realization settled into my bones. We weren't just excavating our own stories. We were inevitably giving others permission to reclaim their narratives, to speak their truths. Together, we could build a bridge for others to join this vital exploration and forge pathways of healing from the grips of cycles ingrained in both our memories and identities. The footage played on, and I became intensely aware of how each individual moment resonated with echoes of the past, but also blossomed with potential for transformation. The screen depicted my father, laughing heartily, unaware of the intricacies bound to unravel later in life. But there, amidst the echoes, lay the very foundation for exploration and understanding, aimed at igniting a new future unmarred by the burdens that once shaped us. As Caleb and I sat in the flickering light of the diner, the weight of the existence I held within me intertwined magnificently with the hope we sought to spur in others. The strands we began weaving into our collective narrative were not merely threads pulled from obscurity. They were vital connections waiting to be crafted anew. And so, with every revelation, we forged onwards toward crafting a brighter future carried on the wings of the past, ready to engage in deeper dialogue and exploration as we gathered our community closer. As the tapes rolled on, the diner felt like it was fading into another realm. The reality of our surroundings seemed to flicker like the aging film on the screen. Each image of my father in the tapes carried remnants of stories that both danced with joy and loomed with shadows. With every frame, I felt as if I was not just a spectator, but a participant in a grand narrative woven through time. Look at how he interacts with them, I said, pointing to a scene where my father animatedly debated with family members. This is more than just family history. It's a dialogue of ideas, the tension of different perspectives colliding. Caleb pressed the play button again, and the scene unfolded with invigorating energy. The family members' voices filled the diner, laughter and spirited disputes intertwining in a beautiful cacophony. There was something electric in their dynamics, a sort of dance unfolding, with each participant contributing to the shared narrative. "I've realized something profound," Caleb remarked, his voice grave yet animated by the joy of discovery. Every choice they made, every debate had repercussions that echoed through generations. They were crafting stories, not just reliving memories. "That's it," I exclaimed. "The past is not static, it's alive." Each discussion influenced paths later. I leaned closer to the screen, heart racing. And the beauty lies in recognizing those choices for what they truly represent. We are living inside a continuous loop of decision-making, building our futures on the foundations laid out by those who approached life before us. What if we can harness this realization and help others see it too? Caleb's enthusiasm built. This moment could be a catalyst for transformation. If they can recognize this aspect of their own narratives, it may empower them to break free from their cycles. I felt an inexplicable excitement swell within me, a sense of urgency to share this revelation with anyone willing to listen. What if we document our insights, the concepts we're discovering together? It could form the backbone of our ebook, Fragments of Time, Reconstructing the Narrative. We should guide our readers through the process of understanding their own legacies and grappling with these stark truths. Caleb nodded contemplatively, scribbling furiously in his notebook. Absolutely. Each segment could highlight significant lessons while also providing a space for readers to reflect on their narratives, their struggles, their joys. There's an integrity in presenting these discussions as living conversations, I added. Because these stories matter, whether comforting or unsettling, they shape us. We need to emphasize that it's not just about unpacking the past. It's about how we choose to respond to it. Each page could offer potential pathways for engagement, places for readers to delve into their family histories and identify parallels. I could see the chapters charting a course through these revelations, Caleb mused. Let's enrich it with actionable insights, strategies for readers to confront the cycles that dominate their own lives. We can produce reflective prompts related to their stories that encourage exploration and transformation. The footage shifted back to the family reunion, and I saw my father smile. Truly a moment encapsulated in time, yet upon closer inspection it bore the weight of prescience. Look at him, I said softly, feeling the emotional surge within. He couldn't have known the patterns he was setting forth for later generations. But what if he hoped for us to learn? That's the power in this. By examining how interconnected we are, we might uncover the keys to breaking free. Caleb leaned in. You're right. Those smiles do mask complexities beneath them, and the energy of these discussions is infectious. They could guide readers to confront their truths unflinchingly. What if each chapter ends with a call to action? Exactly. A way for them to engage with their own stories as they reflect on ours, I said excitedly. Every contribution from our community will continue to breathe new life into those narratives, anchoring our insights in the rich tapestry of lived experiences. Caleb's eyes glimmered with determination. And when the ebook is ready to publish, we should emphasize how transformative this exploration can be. I'm eager to share these insights with others. It's critical to let them know that their stories matter, and through this collective journey, they too hold the power to reclaim their narratives. Once we publish, I'll encourage everyone to grab a copy. They'll see firsthand the strength in exploring their legacies. Having access to these shared reflections could unveil the pathways to growth, I stated, a sense of finality grounding my excitement. As the tape wound down, the last image lingered, my father's laughter echoing, imbued with the warmth of a world cherished yet tainted by shadows of unaddressed realities. A weight settled on my chest, a loving contrast to the hope poured into our project. Let's step boldly into this endeavor and honor our histories while striving for future liberation, I declared, the truth of our mission wrapping us like a protective cloak. Together, we can usher in understanding, compassion, and courage, not only for ourselves but for everyone who yearns to break their chains. The commitment to uplifting others pulsed within us as we committed our exploration into words and actions. This was more than merely piecing together a narrative. This was a call to arms, a movement poised to ignite understanding through the very stories that shaped us. The journey may have started with my father's tapes, but it had far greater implications, inviting exploration and a collective coming together that echoed through generations. In that diner, In that moment, I felt the coolness of the vinyl beneath my fingers and saw our entwined futures emerging, glistening bright on the horizon, ready to rewrite narratives and illuminate lives passed down through corridors of time. As the footage faded away, the diner melted into silence, a shroud of contemplative calm enveloping us. The remnants of my father's laughter echoed in my mind, stark against the stillness that filled the air. Each moment captured on film resonated with possibilities, stories filled with joy and shadows that hinted at complexities yet to be uncovered. "Caleb," I said softly, "we're not just exploring the past, we're creating something new. Our journey isn't limited to our narratives. It's an invitation for others to reflect on their histories too." He met my gaze, nodding in understanding. "Exactly. Every choice and discussion influences generations to come. Through our work, we can help others recognize how deeply intertwined our lives truly are." The weight of collective memory pressed down on us, and I took a deep breath, feeling both empowered and apprehensive about what lay ahead.
Confronting our truths can be daunting, but it's also liberating. We have the chance to guide others through this process of transformation. "I can see it clearly now," Caleb responded, his enthusiasm rising. "If we document our insights, it will lay the foundation for our ebook, Fragments of Time, Reconstructing the Narrative. We can guide readers in understanding their legacies while grappling with their own truths." "That's the vision," I replied, my heart racing with possibility. Each chapter can blend personal stories and reflections, encouraging readers to examine their family histories and recognize their patterns. We must also include reflective prompts to guide their exploration. Caleb scribbled notes busily, excitement palpable in the air. Once the ebook is published, we should emphasize how transformative this journey can be. We can reach out, encouraging others to grab a copy and see for themselves how empowerment lies within these shared experiences. As we pored over my father's final moments on camera, I felt a sadness intermingled with hope. He may not have realized the impact of his choices, yet they ripple across generations. By engaging with these insights, we can potentially break the cycles that bind us. Each of these discussions carries the weight of history, Caleb added, leaning closer to the screen. With this project, we can spark real conversations about agency and choice. Finally, as the last image faded, his laughter still echoed, a reminder of the warmth interlaced within our pasts. It was our turn now to step into the brightness of possibility and honor the histories that shaped us. "Let's move forward with courage," I declared, feeling the gravity of our mission. Together, we can cultivate understanding and compassion, not only for ourselves, but for everyone ready to confront their narratives. Leaving the diner, I felt the chilled air wrap around me like a cloak. We were stepping into a journey that extended beyond our initial exploration. It was a movement to reclaim our stories and illuminate lives. With each step, we embraced the potential for transformation, ready to reshape our destinies as we rewrote the narratives that intertwined our past with a vibrant vision of the future.